You've been there, right? You're deep in a complex task with an AI assistant. Maybe you're summarizing a huge report or analyzing a bunch of code, and then it just completely forgets a crucial detail you gave it 10 minutes ago. It's one of the most frustrating things about using AI today. Seriously, it feels like they have the memory of a goldfish. Well, what if I told you that some researchers have found a way to give AI a nearly perfect memory? Not by making its brain bigger, but by teaching it an entirely new way to think. Let's break it down.
It's a pretty universal feeling, isn't it? You feed it pages and pages of a document, and somewhere along the way, it just loses the plot. Turns out, you're not imagining it. This isn't just some random glitch. It's a really fundamental limitation of how these models work. And, believe it or not, it has a name. Researchers actually call this context rot. And you can think of it like this. The more you talk, the dumber the AI seems to get. It's this weird paradox. We want our AIs to handle these massive amounts of information, but the very act of giving them that info can cause their performance to just crumble. And look, this is not a small issue. Just take a look at this diagram from the research paper. On the left, you've got a standard language model trying to process a really long book. It gets the whole thing fed to it at once, and, well, as you can see from that garbled mess of a final response, it has completely lost the crucial details from the beginning. That is context rot in action. It's a fundamental breakdown in comprehension, and it's what's holding current AI back from tackling truly massive tasks. So why does this happen? To really get the solution, we first need to understand the root of the problem, and it's all about the AI's memory limit.
So every large language model has this thing called a context window. The easiest way to think about it is like the AI's short-term working memory. It's all the information it can hold in its mind at one time to solve a problem. And yeah, these windows are getting bigger, but they're still finite. Once you go past it, the AI just starts forgetting what you talked about at the beginning of the conversation.
Now, developers have tried some pretty clever workarounds for this, but as we're about to see, they're all fundamentally flawed. Let's use an analogy. Imagine an AI is a super smart researcher trying to write a report on a whole library of books. The first old method is summarization. This is like the researcher reads a chapter, writes a quick summary, and then literally burns the original chapter. I mean, sure, they save space, but they lose all the critical, nuanced details forever. The other method is retrieval. This is like giving our researcher only the index of the book. They can look up keywords, but they can't actually read the chapters to understand the context, the characters, or the plot. You can see how both methods are a compromise, and for really complex tasks, they just don't cut it.
And this is where the new approach comes in. It's a completely different way of thinking. It's called Recursive Language Models, or RLMs, and it's all about turning the AI from a forgetful reader into a brilliant researcher.
So, this is the crucial shift in thinking. The old way was to just try and cram the entire library into the researcher's brain at once, and, just hope for the best. The RLM way is so much smarter. It doesn't force-feed the AI. Instead, it treats the entire massive prompt, all that text and data, as an external library. Like a book, it can pick up, browse, and analyze one piece at a time. It gets to interact with the information instead of just trying to memorize it all. And this diagram just illustrates it perfectly. Instead of reading that long prompt directly, the main AI treats it as an environment. Then, it does something amazing. It writes little snippets of code to explore that environment. And this is the key. When a question is too complex, the main AI delegates. It basically calls on a clone of itself, a sub-AI, and hands it a much smaller, more manageable piece of the text with a very specific question, like, hey, find all the names in this chapter. It then takes the clean answer from that sub-AI and uses it to build its final answer. It's not just reading anymore, it's managing a team of researchers.
So, this all boils down to a pretty simple four-step process. First, that impossibly long prompt becomes an environment the AI can play with. Second, the main AI writes code to poke, prod, and explore that environment. Third, for the really detailed work, it delegates by calling a sub-AI on a smaller, more manageable chunk of data. And finally, it takes all the answers from its little sub-AI helpers and stitches them all together into one final coherent response. It's a divide-and-conquer strategy, and the AI is the one orchestrating it all.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but does it actually work? Well, the results are kind of staggering.
Just look at this table. The task was to answer complex questions that required finding and combining info from thousands of documents. We're talking millions of tokens of text that is way, way beyond any normal context window. A standard top-tier model, when faced with this, just completely failed, a score of 0. But the version powered by this new RLM method, it scored over 91%.
That's not just an improvement. That is the difference between impossible and solved. So how does it pull off that incredible performance? The secret is that the AI is basically writing its own research plan. It's thinking out loud, but its language is code.
This slide right here shows us the AI's actual thought process. And don't worry about reading every single line of code. Just look at the block on the left. The AI wrote a simple function to search that massive document for specific keywords, like festival. It's not reading the whole book, it's acting like a search engine to find the most relevant paragraphs first. Then, in the blocks on the right, you can see how it takes the little answers it gets back from its sub-AI helpers and writes more code to assemble them into a single coherent final answer. It's literally building the solution piece by piece, just like a programmer would.
Now, as amazing as all this is, it's not magic. Like any powerful new tool, it comes with some important trade-offs that we need to be aware of.
This new method of thinking can be more intensive. Let's look at this chart of API costs. For a lot of tasks, the RLM method, which is shown in orange, is actually comparable or even cheaper than other methods. But look over at the 95th percentile. That's the really hard problems. The costs can spike a lot. And that's because if a problem needs a long, complex research plan with lots and lots of sub-AI calls, well, the cost is going to reflect that effort. So here's the fine print. First, because the AI is thinking and planning and executing code, it can sometimes be slower than just making a direct request. Second, like we just saw, that thinking process can make it more expensive for particularly tough problems. And finally, and this part is key, the models we have today weren't actually trained to be efficient researchers. They're kind of figuring it out as they go, and sometimes they take a less than perfect path to the answer. But let's zoom out from the trade-offs for a second. Because the real story here isn't just about a clever new technique. It's about a fundamental shift in how we should be interacting with AI.
This quote from the paper is the absolute core idea, the big takeaway. We need to stop thinking of these massive documents and data sets as things we have to shove into the AI's brain. Instead, we should see them as an external world, an environment that the AI can explore, manipulate, and reason about using tools. And in this case, those tools are code.
And that changes everything. This moves us away from an AI that is basically a very sophisticated text predictor, a linguistic parrot, to an AI that is an active, dynamic problem solver. It becomes a reasoning partner that can come up with a plan, execute that plan, and synthesize the results to find an answer. So it really leaves us with this final thought. For years, the big race in AI has been for bigger and bigger context windows, for a bigger memory. But maybe that's been missing the point all along. Maybe the future of truly capable AI isn't just about remembering more, but about being given the tools to think, to explore, and to reason more effectively. Perhaps a better researcher is more valuable than a bigger library.